Our next speakers are mastercrafts in the digital world. They've worked with some of the most prestigious brands in the UK, and their work has been seen alongside Alexander McQueen's at the V&A. So without further ado, please welcome Tommy and Marcus of Holition to the stage.
Hello. So yeah, we're Holition. We do bespoke digital experiences. What exactly is that? Even though it's 2016, some brands either use digital in a non-intuitive way, and other brands just still try to ignore it. So we're trying to help, especially luxury brands, with their digital experiences. So what we normally see quite a lot is brands either have too many iPads, not enough interactive elements, or too few interactive elements, and actually it makes the consumer journey quite irritating, and people normally walk away with less brand loyalty. So this is a very well-known image from Facebook, and it shows that even just with one platform how many interconnected people there are. And with the Internet of Things and everything with Bluetooth and fitness trackers, it's going to be more and more complex, and more data is going to be there. So how can we streamline this process? How can we bring all this together in a seamless experience where it doesn't just annoy you on your way to work?
So for a technology firm, we're fairly technology agnostic, which means that there's a lot of technology companies out there that seem to be using technology for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist yet, whereas we like to approach it differently. We like to use creative and strategy to solve problems and then allow technology to support that. And on this journey that we've embarked upon so far, we've kind of countered three key issues with digital experiences in store. So we mostly work in store with luxury clients. And the three pitfalls are complex user experience. If the experience is too convoluted or not thought about, it just won't be used. It's as simple as that. And beautiful experience. So sometimes when technology is used for technology's sake, it becomes a bit of a gimmick and it actually devalues the brand. And the distraction of mobile. When we have these big, beautiful retail stores, why do we want to kind of point everyone's direction down to a tiny little kind of 5-6 inch screen? So this is an example, in my opinion, of technology not being utilized correctly. So this is Marks and Spencer's, in which they just had a digital hub in which they covered the store with screens and iPads so that you could browse the catalog of products in which the products already existed in the store. So again, in my opinion, like user experience which isn't really thought out very well, and the result of that being that you just had this kind of this ghost town in these stores. The technology wasn't being used, and it just didn't do anything else for the store. So in reaction to that, this is some work we did with Louis Vuitton, which was Louis Vuitton's very first digital experience in store. It was a touch table surface that was integrated into their beautiful architecture in Selfridge's townhouse 2 years ago. And this experience was slightly different in the fact that what do you expect when you go to a luxury store? It's all about the product. It's about touching the product, feeling the product, the kind of the tactile nature of the product. Therefore, we took this idea and thought, what can we do? How can we use digital to support that? So we created these kind of beautiful little miniature Louis Vuitton handbags that when consumers come into the store, they automatically want to hold and pick up and play with. And then as they placed them on this surface came alive to engage the consumer and tell a bit more of a story about the brand. And yes, they could progress further by hitting buttons and delve further into the user experience, but that just getting that first reactive experience by using this tactile physical product and digital to support it is just a slightly different way of thinking than just covering the store and screens.
So another issue we have is a lot of digital just doesn't look good, and there's annoying UI you have to go through to actually get to the part of the software what you want to play with. So So this is a good piece of R&D from like 2 years ago, but a few shopper brands on the high street, maybe H&M and Topshop, try to dabble with fitness tracking and fitting tracking. And there's still two issues. One, the tracking is still not good enough, and two, the visualization just doesn't even look close to what the clothing is. I mean, this might be acceptable for Primark, but it's not acceptable for Burberry, and that's where the high quality bar is, because if people believe that this is the cutting edge of AR when it's not, then it just devalues what we're trying to do as well as we can do. So when we spoke with Uniqlo, we used CGI algorithms to actually find the clothing piece itself and change the color. Now it might sound quite simplistic, but with a simple garment as Uniqlo, which is the same shape, same fitting, but 10 colors, this works really well. And it actually was quite a success on social media. Within a few hours, we was having hundreds of thousands of hits where people were doing it. Since there was no social media on the software itself, people were filming themselves, sharing it themselves, discussing about it themselves. And it was like that childish curiosity of how did this work? And that's where we feel an experience in store should be. It shouldn't necessarily, we should always have an aim to shorten the consumer journey and for software to actually be of worth. But people need to have fun too, and it needs to be beautiful. So this is another piece of R&D we've done, and it's called Face by Holition, and it's virtual cosmetics. We've sat on this for around 5 years, and now we're promoting Face, as well as Mani Match by Sally Hansen and Cosmetic Nails, because we believe that technology is at a point of where the user experience is actually decent. It's just not annoying you, it works, it tracks your face properly, or it tracks your nails properly. And 5 years ago, that wasn't the case. It just would have annoyed people. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So when it came to working with McQueen, we didn't want people to just look at an iPad on a wall with this virtual experience. So we had this big projector set up in the V&A, just next to Savage Beauty, and people were able to be inspired by McQueen and then wear McQueen makeup. And it looked more theatrical, it was a lot more experiential, and it was fun. People just... It was just amazing. It was just so much fun. And I think that's what people expect when they have this experience. They just don't want to be let down.
So as we were saying earlier, kind of removing this barrier between humans as real people and screens. I really like this quote from Kate Bush. I very much want to have contact with you as an audience, not with an iPhone, an iPad, or camera. And I think if we treat an audience like this in a gig, why can't we treat audiences like this in the shopping environment, so in retail environments? Why, with everybody shopping online or mobile, how are these physical stores still relevant? And I think they act as a canvas for us to tell a story, to be a bit more creative with, and to treat the consumers slightly more intelligently than we have been doing so. So an example for this was an experiential pop-up we did for Dom Perignon, in which we did an infinity mirror. So the brief was they wanted to passers-by to be immersed in the world of Dom Perignon. And we were experimenting with different things for this. We were thinking about using VR, but then that felt a bit clunky, and why in a luxury environment would someone want to put this kind of ugly headset on? So we created a room that was essentially every surface was mirrored. Then when you shoot projection into it, this projection shoots across every surface and creates this surreal kind of interstellar environment, which is a complete surprise and delight to the consumer as they step into it. It looks beautiful, and it tells the story, it tells the narrative, and it's a very profound experience. Following on from that, this is another piece we did for List. So List are actually just down the road in Shoreditch. They're a company that aggregates different fashion items, and it's a curated search engine for fashion, essentially. The interesting thing about List is they don't host any clothing on their website. They just pull links from other existing sites like Burberry, Louis Vuitton, Topman, etc. So the interesting thing is they deal with hundreds of thousands of items of data per second, and we were tasked with visualizing this beautifully. So talking about big data visualization. So how can we do this beautifully, but in an educating and informative way? So what you're seeing here within these concentric rings is the outer ring are the brand names, followed by the colour on the second ring, followed by the price of the garment on the middle ring. And each individual particle is an item of clothing being processed live in real time. So again, there's lots of big data out there that isn't beautiful, or there's lots of beautiful things out there that don't make sense. And we wanted to bridge the gap with meeting the beautiful and the informative, so that lists could take this away, use it, predict patterns, but it be a beautiful piece of art that exists in their offices. And following on from that point, I think this keyword kind of retail theatre is an important one, and where the innovation's happening in store at the moment. And, you know, we have these big physical spaces. Let's utilise all the senses. Let's use smell, touch, theatre. You know, we all crave a strong narrative. Let's kind of be creative and make these stores inspiring places. And then using digital to support that. So not just shoving digital in there because everyone wants digital and technology, but for there to be a deeper meaning for that resonates with the consumer. So following on from that, this is a piece we did for Alfred Dunhill, which was a holographic fashion show. We didn't tell anyone it was going to be holographic, so everyone was expecting a normal holographic show, and then all of a sudden the seasons of Trafalgar started animating around the real catwalk models, as if they were really in these environments. So this was in Shanghai 3 years ago now, I think. And again, using technology, but in a seamless way, so the audience couldn't see the holographic rig, they couldn't see the foil. It's just the magic and the beautiful illusion that animates across the catwalk models to bring it to life and to tell a story, yet remain luxury and remain very much in brand for Alfred Dunhill. And then when the fashion show ended, we lifted the holographic foil so that users could actually, the passers-by could actually get on stage with the models to create this surreal illusion, like, you know, hang on a sec, there's a snow globe here, there was trees here a minute ago, where did that all go? Which I think was just a really nice touch on this. And again, there's loads of holograms out there, some done amazingly, some done badly, but to use it to tell a story and bring some of the audience to tears, which actually happened for a positive way, I think is a beautiful thing.
So yeah, even though we do have two main products of try nails and face makeup, we do believe that we could use these in a way in a retail environment where people can actually have fun and take away that positive feeling away from the store. And we could also modify the store to actually give a more unique experience. And when we talk about wearable tech as well, where before you saw that big Facebook graph, we don't need to just use selfish data. I mean, I'm sure my wife loves sharing how many staircases she's travelled in one day from her Fitbit, but when it comes to wearable clothing, we don't believe people care about that. We have a chance to show something much more profound, something which is much more human and emotional. And behind me, you'll see a UN tent sculptured to a human silhouette. On this UN tent, we actually embedded circuitry and LEDs to show climate change data. This made this climate change data, which is very complex. Even though most of all agrees climate change exists, a lot of people are still in denial, but this was a way to showcase that it does affect human beings. And how best to show this by using a real UN refugee tent, the people who are impacted the most with the data. And when you walk by this, you instantly get it that there is a risk. There is, in 50 years, we don't know what's going to happen. And it was beautiful, but informative, a long like list. And with Lauren Boker, with embedded tech, we decided, how can we show your innate human emotions through wearable clothing? Now, it looks very avant-garde, but this fabric can change color based on an input. And we thought, do we need to show someone that you've retweeted something, so you're left like sleeve lights up? No. But what if we showed your intimate emotions on your jacket? How about you literally wear your heart on your sleeve? What if you are disabled and you can't show your loved one emotion? How about if your clothing can do that for you? And we did this by hooking up the jacket on the left with a brain scanner. For me, there it says it's very mother of pearl, very beautiful, but for me it was very purpley and bluish. For another work colleague, it was red and yellow. He is a little bit more angry than I am. For one person, it was just black. We recommended she went to hospital, there's something wrong. But you could use brain scanning technology or other items which you might have in a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, which influence your clothing. And this is more profound, it's more human, it can bring people together. You could have data based on group theory, so what if this audience, your general moods all put together, what would that look like? Because that's what we're interested in. We're not interested in social media, we're interested about innate human emotions or complex data and how do we solve that to get an emotional reaction from you. So yeah, thank you. Any questions? Any questions? There must be something. Oh, cool.